Hey there, hope you're doing good. Let's continue refactoring Futurecam, this time by cleaning up the multi-time-lapse code here. You don't need to lock focus. Yeah, locking focus is required only for a multi-time-lapse. This will become just start recording. And you don't need to tell it what devices to use because it can answer delegate. Yeah, you don't need to have this function focus and lock. Okay, this here. There shouldn't be mode specific code in the frame producer. That again is a hint that we need to break up frame producer into multiple classes rather than having one class with the union of functionality, which is very hard to understand. It's probably the hardest class to understand in the entire app. We had searched for lock. Yeah, there's nothing to lock or unlock. You don't need to set the device to this except for a comment that says this comment applies to code that's no longer there. There is no function called switch camera for time lapse anymore. So this comment is dead. So if it's not the time lapse mode, you are switching to the telephoto camera if it is better. then start recording. So again, too much of class specific code belonging or kind of living in some other class. This code should be in time lapse mode. But anyway, if it is not time lapse mode, have I made too many changes at once? The same mistake I made in the last commit? Yeah, let's redo this, but more kind of step by step. So first we'll look at focus and lock. Let's just do this. We won't lock any device before capture. We won't unlock it afterwards because we're not locking it before capture. Let's just do that in this commit. So anytime you have async code of the kind f, and then within the callback of f, if you're calling g and you no longer want to call f, you can just do this directly. So will this work? Other cleanups like this parameter will work on later. Okay, the resetting of lens position never turns out to be needed, which is wonderful. This function is renamed. Since we are not locking, we are not unlocking. I don't know why these symbols are coming here. It's the diff issue. Okay, whatever. This property is gone. This function is renamed. The comment is no longer correct, so it's been removed. Like I could have deleted this part of the comment, keeping the only valid part which says starts recording, but that's obvious from the function name, so the comment would be superfluous. You're not calling focus and lock, you're just calling itself recursively. The only thing is it should be async. The reason for that is code that is asynchronous, if you convert it to synchronous, it sometimes doesn't work. So let's still keep it asynchronous but not do anything. So you're not calling focus and lock, you're not checking devices to unlock, you're not appending, but you're still doing the same thing asynchronously. The reason we need to be careful about that is if you have a function like this, func start recording, and you have the call site here which calls start recording and then whatever do x, and this calls itself recursively. If whatever, what's it any for a guard, whatever the stopping condition is, take bracket if needed. This actually starts the capture process. So basically the way this code works is you call start recording, it will lock the focus, call itself recursively. Finally, when the recursive calls end, it will call take bracket if needed to actually start it. Now, if you refactor it, bad refactoring, this way. Now what will happen is when you call start recording, it will call itself recursively and call take bracket if needed before calling do x. Do x executes before take bracket if needed, since it's an async call. Here now you have made it synchronous. So this entire recursive call finishes, including this. So now this can cause bugs. A good refactoring is this one. Just make it async. Call yourself later, not immediately. So here do x will execute before take bracket if needed. So don't change the order, this can cause bugs. So here we have in main queue, we are anyway in the main queue. You are not resetting lens position, you are not focusing and locking. Are we even using this other thing? Extension AV capture device dot. No, we look at focus mode. What were we doing in focus and lock? Were we locking focus or exposure? Or both? Focus and lock. It was only changing the focus mode, not the exposure mode. Yeah, the app supports only autofocus. This, yeah, we don't need this. This comment is no longer accurate, but right now I am a little impatient. We have only autofocus. So this async call may not be the most optimum code because maybe it's not needed. But that is a job for a future refactoring. In this refactoring, the goal is to remove the locking and unlocking of cameras without introducing bugs. And this code is no worse than this code, right? Here also it's async, here also it's async. So you're not introduced any mess. You have just not cleaned up a mess, which is okay, or complexity. Okay, this is good. Are we even using this? It would be wonderful to remove all the this is needed. So this is how the iPhone camera works. So there are two focus modes. There's autofocus, there's continuous autofocus. Continuous autofocus keeps running. So as you keep moving the camera, maybe you're pointing it at something really close, like an object on your desk, then you're pointing it at the setting sun. It'll keep adjusting. Whereas the plain autofocus mode, the algorithm runs once and then it gets locked. Now when you tap to focus, you have to switch from continuous to just autofocus, because otherwise the tap to focus won't work. So that is why in the tap to focus function, this is for tap to focus. Wait, did I mess up something here? There's an extra. What do you call it, closing brace, probably in a previous commit. Okay, never mind. So coming back here, and then after tapping to focus, if the scene changes, say you are pointing it at your desk and you have tapped to focus, and then you go outside to the balcony and point it at the setting sun, the tap to focus should disappear. So the iPhone has scene monitoring. It monitors the scene and fires this notification when the scene has changed. And when it does, you have to switch to continuous autofocus again. So we can't remove these. Okay, never mind. But whether it's continuous autofocus or autofocus, it's always in that mode. It's never in manual focus or locked. Oops. No, there's no oops. I thought there was an opening brace here, but no, it's a function, so it's fine. Okay. Okay, so we are done with one change. So let's see what else we can clean up in the frame producer. You know, I used to think Futurecam code was excellent, and everyone who worked with me told me it is, but I guess it's just a question of where the bar is. It may be better than the other companies they worked at, but looking at it, I don't think it meets my bar of excellent. Maybe after these refactorings, but yes, not not when the startup was active. So all startups have bad code. Just how bad? Okay, so where are we? Yes, we changed the. So we are cleaning up the multi-time lapse code. What is manual duration? Is that even used? Oops. Why are we watermarking it with the... Oh, it's if false. Yeah, trying to watermark so many causes a crash even on the iPhone XS, which when this code was written was the newest iPhone. So the code within if false can be removed. And so this can be made a let. Oops. This is the right way to do refactoring. Find one variable, remove it. It's easy. Remove. So then there's a watermarked code as well. Watermarked duration. Func watermarked duration. This code can be deleted. Nobody's watermarking anymore. Awesome. Now the other question we need to think about is, are we always using this, or do we need an if? So what is the object we have been given? Photo bracket settings. We had a if check here. There may be only one, but it's always of this type. So this if can be removed. It's always true. Oops, we should have removed this earlier. The delegate no longer has that method. See? Again, working with the compiler. Okay, so what have we done here? Okay, this doesn't merit a commit by itself. Let's see what else we can do. Yeah, why are we calculating all these exposures? Yeah, basically we are trying to recalculate the exposure ourselves by taking the average of the last n frames, which hasn't worked. Let's try to clean this up step by step. We don't do this, even if it is time-lapse mode. And we don't do this. So correct exposure is same as average exposure. Yeah, this can be removed. Is there a problem? Did I mess up the braces? What is already switched camera? So we need to look at that, and this lens position as well. Okay, cool. Last exposures, we should control F. Great. And it's private, so other files we don't need to check. This is all updating the last exposure. So this correct exposure comes from the iOS camera subsystem. And if it is time-lapse mode, we try to override it by taking the average of the last n correct exposures and using that. Now we don't do that. This is needed for multi-time lapse, which we are getting rid of. And even then this code doesn't work properly, which is why we disabled multi-time lapse. So we might as well, like either way you look at it, this code can go. And it's always this. Oh, we are not displaying the last used manual exposure settings, and the rolling average calculator goes. The guideline it uses of 50 characters is a little too low. You can't even write one sentence in the commit message. Like, you shouldn't write a paragraph, but a sentence is not too much. Okay, what else can we clean up in the frame producer? There was some variable we wanted to look at. Oh man, this is again a global mutable variable. It's let, but it's a class type, so it's actually mutable. This one just uses an AV capture device, I guess. So we this take bracket takes a camera, but it doesn't need the camera, it needs only the device. So always pass less than, don't pass unnecessary references, because camera has references to a dozen other things. Now you're passing all that here, which is bad coding. Pass only what you need. Yes. Eventually we want to get rid of the camera class, but we need to remove references to it in other places. Okay, this is a minor change, probably doesn't merit a commit. Let's see what else we can do. Yeah, we're looking at the instance variables of this class and asking for each of them, is it needed? Oh, it might as well be in, it's never used here. A class should not be a host for properties that are used elsewhere. It's not a dumping ground. You don't always need a named constant. This is fine. Okay. Yeah, for analytics we track this. Do we track this? No, we don't. Great. Now, even though I'm bundling a bunch of changes into one commit, since they're all trivial, I am not concerned that this will go wrong. Whereas if you start making one change and then another and then another and then another, the scope of the changes has become more. So 4 trivial changes is okay in one commit, even if they are unrelated. 4 substantial changes are not okay. So err on the side of less. Oh, this reset statistics can also be removed because there are no statistics to reset. Do we need this? Okay, we'll leave it. Yeah, I think there are enough commits here to, enough changes to commit them. Cleaning up is like some cleanup enables further cleanup and so on. I spent so much time optimizing the max cap, but finally that level of quality did not turn out to be useful because we didn't have enough users, which was a critical thing. Some companies have a messy product. Lot of people use it. They're all pissed. But some of us perfectionists build a perfect product that no one uses, which is ironic. So I was looking at this one, dropped a buffer. I think this is optional. Yes. So one more thing gets cleaned up. Okay. What else did I clean up? This function. Let's look at other instance variables. Why do we care whether we are using video data output? Oh, if we can remove these two verifications, this one you can query the camera directly. Okay, let's do it in the next command. And I'll see you in the next video.